Environment yields money. Biosphere Enhancement Corp. We live in a biosphere surrounding a ball of chemical gases and compounds. Techron and Chevron keeps your motor clean. Increased efficiency. An analogy to Corp's fertilizer additive keeps our farms clean. Increased efficiency. A sequence to follow. Innovation. Fertilizer's microchip tech. Making and saving money. Making cleaner air and water and ancillary effect benefits. A new innovation term. URIGATION. What is it? A method of placing urea fertilizer for benefits beyond only fertilizing. Apple's Steve Jobs, in a garage, bundled all of man's communications into a single handheld device with new benefits. Biosphere Enhancement Corp's president and inventor, Richard Hartman, in past 30 years, in his garage and in coastal California fields, learned how to bundle strawberry gas and fertilizer practices into a single fertilizing application, a system with new benefits. Bundling fertilizer applications. Carbon microchips inside fertilizers. Fertilizers with a brain. Coined by the president of the Fertilizer Institute. Chips are inside granular urea, fluid urea ammonium nitrate, fluid manures. The berry industry can bundle a solution to all its environmental challenges with single pharmaceutical skincare urea. Plant food practice with new benefits. Can medicinal skincare urea as fertilizer provide all the soil needs for berries? Can we harness our greater than 500 pounds of fertilizer per acre better? Urea is made from ammonia and CO2. Carbon stabilizer microchips hydrolysis splits those and ionizes nutrients from compounds within the solution into carbon for microbes and soil-attaching household ammonia. Harnessing carbon nitrogen urea fertilizer benefits. URIGATION, a new ag term. Stabilized fluid nitrogen microbe feeding carbon. Yes. No ozone or neighbor's exposure. No buffer zones or permits. Yes. No nutrients, water loss, or groundwater runoff. Yes. Within standard nitrogen use or below. Yes. Enhanced ammonium nutrition, EAN. Enhances fruiting, reduces nitrate leafiness, soft fruits. Yes. Reduces pesticide use and soil acidification. Yes. Water seals in any gases, removing need for petrol-based landfilled waste. Yes. Healthier soils and plants. Yes. Yield assurance. Yes. Natural urea effects. Urine irrigation. Ancillary urea effects. Animal urea urine ammonia release burns lawns. In the picture on the left, you see the center of an animal urine being dried out. The second, you'll see a fertilizer effect. In the third arrow, there's no longer any fertilizer effect. On the right-hand picture, lawn applicator was not aligned properly. Raise your hand if you ever experienced this. Water sealing irrigation. No tarps. William W. Allen, assistant entomologist, UC Berkeley. Water forms impenetrable barrier against methyl bromide. 1957. Why have we been tarping all this time? Berry Commission 2016 acreage report. California farmers continue to invest in innovation research and education programs that include farming without fumigants, research to address the loss of methyl bromide, and restrictions on remaining fumigants. Innovation. About 30 years ago, a UC Davis nematologist was very upset when he tried to greenhouse grow nematodes. The nematodes died when he used urea fertilizers. Soil urease converted it to protein-digesting ammonia. He became a candidate to try our carbon-nitrogen urease inhibitor nitrogen stabilizer powder. Biosphere's carbon powder needs water to hydrolyze to DCD urease nitrogen inhibitor. We tried to pre-hydrolyze our powder. That created a black, non-sprayable sludge. Our first fluid urea powder patents were tea-bag or decant. Blender dealers and growers would not put up with that. Test plots kept showing higher yielding and healthier potatoes and peppermint in verticillium-infected soil. We recently discovered and patented that fluid urea ammonium nitrate fertilizer digests the sludgy carbon into colloidal sprayable fertilizer in soil that created 300% more earthworms that feed on microbes. In 2001, at Watsonville MBA Station, in strawberries grown in verticillium soil, post-drips bumped up yields like previous potatoes and peppermint. In 2007, at Salinas Station, Bi-N stabilized N fertilizer out-yielded soil fume slow fertilized. 2013, Irvine Station, Bi-N's carbon stable N equal yielded flat fumed slow fertilized. Finally, we saw that our hydrolyzed ionic calcium made ammonia from urea that digested weed seeds. 2003, in Castroville, its ionic calcium cured berry crown's calcium deficiency in 3 days. At times, berry beds had no weeds. What you see is what you get in the following slides. You have a picture there of my daughter at the Irvine Station, noticing what's really happening at these experiment stations. Can skin-soothing urea fertilizer provide all soil needs for berries? Weed seeds show and tell. Learning. Ancillary urea dry-out ammonia releasing effect. Stabilized nitrogen, high pH ammonia release can digest weed seeds. Here you see 2 years in succession bed-top tests for applying 3 different rates of nitrogen and their effects. Pre-plant berry beds top sprayed, irrigated, dried out, alkali digested weed seeds, tarped or not. Dried out to ammonia matters. Learning irrigation dry out effect benefit. 07 Rainbird broadcasts irrigated, dried out, post-bedding, digesting volunteer weed seeds as low as 100 pounds nitrogen per acre and no tarps. This is a matter of placing stabilized urea within the irrigation water on a broadcast basis. Notice that the dry out didn't happen in the furrows, allowed weeds to germinate and grow, except at the higher rate. Here we see the effects of post-drips while the plants are growing. You'll notice there's a differential between deep drip and shallow drip. Shallow drip shows up first when deep drip shows up later, suggesting that the deeper roots need the effect of our irrigation post-drips. Do we realize that strawberries and roses are in the same perennial plant family? I did a carbon stabilizer post-drip in April 2013 on one of 3 rose bushes. It had monthly new reproductive buds, shiny leaves, and plant insect-resistant responses. Also noticed the plant attracting profuse populations of lady beetles, and lacewing insect predators. I had never before seen these effects on any of these typically weak plants. The remaining two plants were weak as always. A Watsonville grower, well known for his experimental interests on his own farmland, tested Bion's pre-plant irrigation on 2 berry beds. He bolstered us when he led us to see the results. He pointed out that lower profile plants shown here are desired as they are hardier with less soft fruit, typically resulting from nitrate fertilizing, whereas irrigation provides ammonium nitrogen. Furthermore, the irrigated plants had shinier leaves known to resist fungus. While patenting Bion's technology, prior art revealed that our unobvious compound has carbon which causes massive microbial responses. This compound that we now use as a fertilizer additive was man's first, yet forgotten, nitrogen fertilizer. Invented and patented in 1890s Germany, also coined the origin of life. Carbon causes a boom in microbe populations from 0 to 25 million microbes per gram of soil in a mere 24 hours. Furthermore, the microbes consume nitrogen, preventing leaching, abating the major environmental concerns of today's cheaper commercial end fertilizers. Fumigants comprise carbon and nitrogen, likely supporting uniform yield assurance, whether in diseased soils or not. Our chemists provided the molecular weights of carbon and nitrogen in each fumigant and in Bion's fertilizer at 100 pounds per acre. Methylbromide has carbon but no nitrogen. Chloropicrin has carbon and nitrogen. Dichloropropene has the most carbon but no nitrogen. Bion's carbon irrigation additive has both the highest carbon and nitrogen. Carbon is associated with massive multiplication of microbes. The following slides show recent studies that show the same or better yields than fumed. Yield loss from dependence on slow fertilizer in fumed soil seems to be completely offset by the use of water-sealed carbon irrigation at a much lower cost. In 2013, UCCE Irvine, California station 3 replications strawberry study on yield assurance, you see no significant differences. These results are from a single irrigation fertilizing practice and a post-drip, compared to a dual practice of costly flat fumigation followed by slow fertilizing. The potential listed cost savings are huge. Shown, carbon-stabilized fertilizer efficiency and 300% more soil worms, soil health may offset concerns about farming without fumigants. Here you can see the comparison of effects between standard UAN on the left and UAN with Bion's additive on the right. Not only did the crop on the right have higher yield, using 25% less nitrogen, the winter cover crop was more plentiful. Notice the difference in the earthworm populations. Bion's technology caused a 300% boom. UC Riverside discovered carbon nitrogen from urea induces plant pest resistance. Might this be an added benefit to irrigation? Can we harness our greater than 500 pounds fertilizer per acre better? Yes, with carbon-stabilized nitrogen. Water traps gases better than plastic tarps, measuring ammonia release in parts per million in Greenfield, California. Notice the graph below where you can see the tarps increase ammonia gas loss up to 13 times more parts per million than water alone. Remember William Allen, assistant entomologist, UC Berkeley. Water forms impenetrable barrier against methyl bromide, 1957. Every berry farm and its soil varies from 1. Sand to clay, 2. Surface draining to potential saturated areas, 3. Ocean effects causing different weather, 4. Pockets of soil diseases. Notice below that application depth matters. Growers are still young if they can hula hoop. Try a hula hoop sprinkle test. This season, growers can test irrigation on non-fumed, no herbicide patches. Volunteer weeds can show and tell. Free samples from fertilizer dealers. We learned in this formulation and bed tops placement test using weed seeds as follows. 1 week picture. Left is the urea ammonium nitrate UAN diluent fertilizer. Middle is the max carbon stabilizer concentrate. Right is the max more urea diluent. 2 week picture. Right depicts 3 rates of added irrigation water. 3 week picture. It depicts the dry out phase. 4 week picture. Black arrows depict the results of a UAN topical spray. The bedsides show weak unfertilized weeds emergence. This displays that this treatment only affects the bed top. The white arrow 1 points to where max concentrate 3x diluted digested the bed top weeds, but not the 2x and the 1x diluted, whereas the added more urea formulation had digested weed surface seeds in 3x, 2x, and 1x water depth dilutions. Conclusions. 36 weeks, 9 months berry crop, needs shallow plus deep benefits, whereas favored is shallow with deeper benefits for later deep roots, needs shallow plus deep benefits like white arrow 2. Remember post drips placement in sequences. The shallow drips yielded earlier. The deeper drips yielded later. Irrigated drips improved overall yields. Banded slow release fertilizer had lowest yield. Back in 2002, we wanted to see what effect our carbon stabilizer chip inside granular urea fertilizer, banded on bare ground at a standard urea nitrogen rate, could do after rain-like watering. Here you can see that the urea-controlled ammonia release alkali digested the volunteer weed seeds within the fertilized band and some outside of it. As a practical matter, such banding is typical for methods of pre-plant fertilizing row crops. In today's precision farming, growers can precision seed in predetermined fertilized bands. Might this stabilizing nitrogen technology harness fertilizers to more than just fertilizing? Might this reduce the need for GMO crop seeds? Buy-in's vision. Might the results in these 10-inch bands from Hartman's buy-in system lead to less need for GMO? With today's precision weather forecasting, can we realize 90 million GMO-free, rain-fed field corn acres in the U.S.? Weeds cannot resist cultivators. Worst case scenario, no rain. Rain-fed crops can benefit from 25% less nitrogen and 300% more earthworms. Urea irrigation leaves a very, very high temporary soil pH after digesting proteins from ammonia release from urea. Your fertilizer dealer applicator can make fluid carbon stabilized nitrogen for you. Irrigation can be used for all crops. Wish I could be with you for all your questions. You can make clean air and waters like music. Find my contact info in the video description.